Colossal empires dominated the surrounding Europe and the Near East, yet the vast expanses of Arabia remained untouched as a stronghold of polytheism, where ancient traditions and tribal allegiances held firm amidst the arid sands. This remote region, seemingly immune to the sweeping cultures that shaped the broader world, would experience the emergence of a remarkable individual. Hello, and welcome to Impactful Moments, where we explore some of the most, you guessed it, impactful moments in human history. If history is your thing, or you simply enjoy learning new topics, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us to continue creating captivating, impactful, historical content. In this video, we will discuss the life of Muhammad, the visionary who transformed Arabia, sparking the rise of one of the world's largest religions. The Roman Empire had risen, split, and partially collapsed. Eastern Europe and Western Asia saw the rise of the Achaemenid Persians, Hellenistic Greeks, Parthians, and the Sasanian Empire. In North Africa, Egyptian dynasties, the Nubian Kushites, and the Empire of Aksum held sway. Even within Arabia, the north was influenced by the Roman and Persian empires and smaller kingdoms like the Nabateans, while the south saw the Sabaeans and the Himyarites thrive on trade routes between the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. However, amidst these surrounding powers and influences, Central Arabia remained a largely nomadic culture with shifting, fragmented power across tribal confederations. Despite influence from surrounding religions, such as Persian Zoroastrianism, Christianity, Judaism, and Hanafism, a non-Christian and non-Jewish Abrahamic faith, most in Arabia continued adhering to distinctly pagan beliefs. Despite the nomadic culture of groups like the Bedouins or the Kedarites, some tribes embraced a sedentary lifestyle. By the end of the 5th century, tribes like the Quraysh had settled in the city of Mecca, transforming it into a center of trade and religious pilgrimage, as it housed the Kaaba, a revered sanctuary that housed numerous tribal idols. As I have done with other major world religions like Judaism and Christianity, I will present the following according to religious accounts, Islamic in this case. While the Quran is central to Islam, the primary historical records of this early period is found in the Sirah, particularly the works of Muhammad ibn Ishaq from the 8th century and Abd al-Malik ibn Hisham from the 9th. Although certain details of these accounts may be debated by historians, they remain foundational and influential in understanding the history of Islam. Given Islam's profound impact on global history and culture, the following retelling is a history in its own right. Islamic sources recount that around the year 570, a Himyarite king from Yemen named Abraha led a campaign to destroy the Kaaba in Mecca. According to the story, his war elephants refused to advance toward the sacred sanctuary, and his army was decimated by birds pelting them with stones, an event that became known as the Year of the Elephant, or Am al-Fil. Later that year, a man from the Quraysh tribe named Abdullah, who had once been nearly sacrificed to the Meccan god Hubal, fathered a son. However, Abdullah passed away before the child's birth, leaving the boy, named Muhammad, to be raised by his grandfather, Abd al-Muttalib. Muhammad's early life was marked by loss. At the age of 6, he lost his mother, Amina, and 2 years later his grandfather also passed away, leaving him in the care of his uncle, Abu Talib, who was the head of the Hashim clan within the Quraysh tribe. As a young man, Muhammad developed a reputation as a skilled merchant, known for his honesty and shrewdness. During a trading journey to Basra in Syria with his uncle, he encountered a Christian monk named Bahira, who recognized signs of prophethood in the young Muhammad and foretold his future role as a prophet. At the age of 25, Muhammad entered the service of Khadija, a wealthy widow 15 years his senior. Impressed by his abilities and character, Khadija proposed marriage, and Muhammad accepted. Despite his many skills, Muhammad was likely illiterate. Yet, at the age of 40, while meditating in the cave of Hira near Jabal al-Nawar, a voice, later identified as the angel Jibril or Gabriel, commanded him to read. When Muhammad insisted that he was unable, the voice persisted, eventually revealing the opening verses of what is now Surah 96, thus marking the beginning of Muhammad's prophetic revelations. Initially deeply unsettled by the experience, Muhammad shared it only with his close circle. His wife Khadija and her cousin Waraka ibn Nawfal offered reassurance, recognizing these visions as signs of prophethood. For 3 years, Muhammad continued to receive revelations, keeping them private until he was instructed to preach publicly. Muhammad's public preaching began peacefully, as the largely polytheistic Arabia had room for multiple gods. However, when the revelations began denying the existence of other gods, they became contentious. His teachings garnered a following among women and lower-status tribe members, but also incited opposition from the Quraysh, as his message challenged their polytheistic beliefs. This led to persecution, with some followers fleeing to Abyssinia, or Ethiopia, and others facing social isolation, as the Quraysh tribes refused to trade or marry with the clan. The year 619, known as the Year of Sorrow, brought further tragedy, as both Khadija and Abu Talib passed away. With the latter's death, Hashim leadership passed to Muhammad's uncle Abu Lahab, who withdrew the clan's protection, leaving Muhammad vulnerable in Mecca. After a failed attempt to secure protection in the nearby town of Taif, where he was met with insults, Muhammad found protection under the Banu Nawfal clan, led by their chief, Mutaim ibn Adi. Amidst these challenges, while the details, chronology, location, and even the connection between these events vary among sources, the majority Islamic tradition recounts 2 miraculous events in Muhammad's life, the Isra and the Miraj. During the Isra, or night journey, Muhammad is said to have traveled on the back of a winged horse named Burak to Jerusalem, where he led a gathering of prophets, including Ibrahim, Musa, and Isa, or Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, in prayer. The Miraj followed, during which, per the Quran and other Muslim sources, Muhammad ascended from what is now symbolized by the Dome of the Rock to heaven. There he met with various prophets and spoke directly with Allah, or God, negotiating the commandment of 50 daily prayers down to 5. On his descent, he was shown visions of heaven and hell. Following these miraculous events, Muhammad returned to Mecca, but the reception of his message remained largely hostile. Realizing the difficulty of converting the Meccans themselves, Muhammad shifted his focus to the many pilgrims who passed through. Among these were visitors from the nearby oasis city of Yathrib, now known as Medina, who found resonance in his teachings. Gradually, he built a small yet dedicated following from Yathrib, securing their trust and a promise of protection. With the situation in Mecca becoming increasingly hostile, Muhammad decided to relocate. In 622, under mounting threats of assassination, he orchestrated a strategic migration of his followers to Yathrib. This journey, known as the Hijra, would become a pivotal moment in Islamic history, marking the beginning of the Islamic calendar. Muhammad himself, accompanied by his close companion Abu Bakr, narrowly escaped an assassination plot and slipped out of Mecca under the cover of night, taking refuge in a cave until passage was safe. Upon arrival in Yathrib, Muhammad was welcomed as a leader, and he quickly set about establishing peaceful relations among the city's diverse inhabitants. Recognizing the necessity for unity, he drafted what would become known as the Constitution of Medina. This agreement created a sense of unity, allowing for freedom of religious practice, while also uniting the city's tribes, Jewish, pagan, and Muslim alike, under a mutual defense pact, agreeing to stand together against any external aggressors. However, tensions with the Meccans soon re-escalated. They had begun seizing the property and wealth left behind by the emigrant Muslims, promoting complaints by Muhammad's followers. Receiving divine revelations that permitted defensive actions, Muhammad and his followers began raiding Meccan caravans, disrupting their trade routes and seizing supplies. This led to a series of skirmishes culminating in the Battle of Badr in 624. At Badr, Muhammad's forces, numbering around 300, strategically blocked access to vital wells, taking position in the hills. Despite being heavily outnumbered by the 1,000-strong Meccan army, the Muslims secured a decisive victory. This unexpected triumph bolstered the resolve of Muhammad's followers, reinforcing their faith in his leadership and the divine mandate of Islam. Yet, the conflict was far from over. The Meccans retaliated fiercely the following year at the Battle of Uhud, where the Muslims suffered heavy losses, and Muhammad himself was rumored to have been killed. Although the Meccans ultimately failed to seize Medina, the battle dealt a blow to the Muslim morale. However, Muhammad continued to consolidate his power. In 627, the Meccans mounted another large-scale attack, gathering an army of 10,000 to lay siege to Medina. Facing a significant force, Muhammad employed an unconventional strategy by ordering the construction of defensive trenches around the vulnerable parts of the city, a tactic previously unknown in Arabia, introduced by a Persian convert named Salman. This innovation thwarted the Meccan assault, and after weeks of stalemate, the Quraysh were forced to retreat in disgrace, their prestige significantly diminished. With his position strengthened, Muhammad turned his attention to local threats. Believing that the Jewish tribe of Banu Qurayza had betrayed him during the Battle of the Trench, he besieged them for 25 days. While the specifics are debated, traditional accounts state that the men of the tribe were executed, while the women and children were enslaved. Feeling emboldened, in 628 Muhammad decided to lead a group of followers on a pilgrimage to the Kaaba in Mecca. He encountered an initially hostile Quraysh at Hudaybiyah, but eventually entered into negotiations, leading to the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, a 10-year truce between the Muslims and the Quraysh. The fragile peace with the Quraysh, however, would not last. Just 2 years into their truce, Meccan allies raided the Banu Quza'a, allies of Muhammad, which resumed hostilities. By now, Muhammad had amassed 10,000 men, which, in 630, marched on Mecca, encountering little resistance. With minimal bloodshed, Mecca was taken, and many of its inhabitants, recognizing the shift in power, converted to Islam. The idols within the Kaaba were destroyed, and the sanctuary was rededicated to the worship of Allah alone. Muhammad continued to expand his influence across Arabia. Following a thwarted attack by 4,000 Hawazan soldiers, Muhammad even extended his reach northward into the Byzantine city of Tabuk, signaling Islam's growing influence beyond just the Arabian Peninsula. With much of Arabia under his control by 631, Muhammad issued an ultimatum for polytheists to abandon their idol practices within 4 months or face potential attack. In the same year, during his final pilgrimage, he delivered sermons on monetary regulations, personal grievances, the Islamic calendar, and marital conduct, setting clear guidelines for his followers. Shortly after completing his final pilgrimage in 632, Muhammad fell seriously ill. Whether from a fever exacerbated by the exhaustion of recent campaigns or from the lingering effects of poison ingested during his conquest at Khaybar, his condition worsened rapidly. On June 8, 632, after uttering, "O God, forgive me and have mercy on me, and let me join the highest companions," he passed away, marking the end of his life and the beginning of a new era for the Islamic community. Muhammad's life brought an unprecedented unity to the Arabian Peninsula, establishing the Ummah, or Islamic community, which transcended tribal loyalties, creating an identity based on religious and political values. His teachings laid the foundation for an Islamic society across Arabia, but his conquests were only the beginning of a much broader transformation. After his death in 632, the Middle East and North Africa would witness a rapid and sweeping change as the religion and culture he initiated expanded far beyond the Arabian Peninsula. Despite this unity, in the years following Muhammad's death, divisions arose within the Muslim community, leading to the split between Sunni and Shia Islam over disagreements about the rightful successor to Muhammad. Sunni Islam believes that succession should be from the most capable, while Shia argue that it should be from Muhammad's direct line, specifically from Ali, who married Muhammad's daughter, Fatima. This schism would create different factions within the Islamic world, shaping the political and religious landscape for centuries. Upon Muhammad's passing, his close friend Abu Bakr was chosen by the Muslims of Medina to be the first caliph, or leader of the community. This transition, though, was challenged by rival factions, who sought their own claims to leadership, and various tribes whose loyalty had been to Muhammad as an individual, refusing to recognize Abu Bakr's authority. To secure unity, Abu Bakr launched the Ridda Wars, using both military campaigns and diplomacy to subdue the dissenting tribes and maintain control over the Arabian Peninsula. Once the internal threat was neutralized, the Muslim state was poised for external expansion. The Rashidun Caliphate, led first by Abu Bakr and later by Umar ibn al-Khattab, or Omar, neither of whom were recognized by the Shia, capitalized on the weakened state of their imperial neighbors, the Byzantines and the Sasanian Persians. These powers were ravaged by decades of war and outbreaks of plague, creating an opening for Islamic forces to press their advantage. Under the brilliant generalship of Khalid ibn al-Walid, the Caliphate quickly conquered Syria and Egypt. Under Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, they completed the overthrow of the Sasanian Empire, establishing a vast Islamic empire that stretched from modern-day Libya in the west to Afghanistan in the east within just a few decades. This marked a new era of cultural, religious, and political transformation that would shape the region, and it was only the beginning. Muhammad's life is widely regarded as one of the most influential in human history. He founded a religion that spread with remarkable speed, creating a cultural and religious force that continues to shape the world today. Following the Rashidun Caliphate, the Umayyad Caliphate expanded Muslim influence even further, with its empire stretching from the Atlantic coast in the west to the Indian subcontinent in the east. These conquests established centuries of Muslim dominance across a vast region, much of which remains predominantly Muslim to this day, having been ruled by successive Islamic powers like the Abbasid Caliphate, the Ottoman Turks, and modern-day nations in the region. Islam's rapid expansion led to conflicts with neighboring powers, resulting in some of the most consequential wars and battles in history, including the Crusades, the Battle of Tours, and the Battle of Talas. These encounters not only shaped the course of Islamic history, but also left a lasting mark on the broader world. From its humble beginnings with just a few dozen followers, Islam has grown into the world's second largest religion, with close to 2 billion adherents worldwide. Muhammad's legacy continues to shape global geopolitics, culture, and religious practice, demonstrating the enduring impact of his life and message. I hope you enjoyed this video and found this period in history both informative and enlightening. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, and I hope you can join us for another video. Thanks for watching.